There are three major overlapping functions that the nervous system has to perform. The first is to bring in sensory input about changes in the environment. That means changes in the world around you, as well as changes in the world inside of the body. Information about those changes comes in towards some kind of integration center. The second major job that the nervous system does is integration, putting together all of these pieces of sensory information about how changes in the environment are happening, and then making decisions about how we want to respond to those changes in the environment. Those decisions about how to respond eventually get passed out as motor output to some kind of effector organ, like a muscle to cause movement or a gland to release hormones. You have one nervous system, but when we discuss the nervous system, we talk about it in different kinds of subdivisions, both structural and functional subdivisions, to make that conversation a little bit easier. The major structural subdivisions of our nervous system are the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system's number one job is to serve the integration function for the nervous system. That means the other two jobs, sensory input and motor output, are largely done by the peripheral nervous system. That means that under the peripheral nervous system, there are two functional subdivisions. One is called the afferent subdivision of the peripheral nervous system. That's taking sensory input in towards the spine and brain. The other is called the efferent branch of the peripheral nervous system. The efferent side is taking motor signals away from the spine and brain out towards muscles and glands. These two functional subdivisions have subdivisions of their own. Like, for the afferent side, the information coming in, we said that your nervous system has to keep track of changes in the world around you or outside of the body. That information is coming through what we call the somatic side of the afferent peripheral nervous system. But you're also keeping track of changes inside of your body, like your internal body temperature or your blood sugar levels. That information is coming through the visceral side of the afferent peripheral nervous system. This way, you can keep track of changes in both the external and internal environments. This information coming in through the afferent side eventually gets passed to the central nervous system, the spine and the brain, where it gets integrated, where we put all of that information together to make sense out of that sensory input. And then we make decisions about how to respond to those changes. Those decisions get passed out through the other side of the peripheral nervous system, through the efferent side. The efferent side of our peripheral nervous system has to take signals out to two major places. Because we were keeping track of changes in the outside world, we also need a way to interact or respond to those changes in the outside world. That kind of signal, the way we respond to the outside world, passes out through the somatic efferent peripheral nervous system. It largely goes to our skeletal muscles and allows us to do voluntary kinds of movements. The number one way we interact with the world around us is by moving our muscles in a voluntary kind of way. But the visceral side of our afferent peripheral nervous system was keeping track of changes in our internal environment. That means we need a way to interact with this internal environment. That information passes out through the autonomic side of the efferent peripheral nervous system. When we interact with our internal environment, we largely do so by changing the way our cardiac muscles contract, our smooth muscles contract, or the release of different kinds of hormones in the body. All of those types of things are interactions and responses that we cannot voluntarily control. This is the involuntary side of our efferent nervous system, taking care of those things that are automatically done for us. This autonomic side of the efferent peripheral nervous system that's allowing us to interact with our internal environment also has two functional subdivisions of its own. One side is the sympathetic side of the autonomic nervous system that prepares the body for fight or flight, doing things like increasing the contraction of cardiac muscles, increasing breathing rate, increasing metabolism, increasing blood flow out to the skin and the skeletal muscle, and decreasing blood flow to the digestive system. The other side of the autonomic nervous system is referred to as the parasympathetic side. The parasympathetic side prepares the body for rest and digest. By doing so, it decreases contractions of cardiac muscle. It decreases respiratory rate. It decreases metabolism. It decreases blood flow to the skin and the skeletal muscle, but it increases blood flow to the digestive system. The sympathetic and the parasympathetic sides of the autonomic nervous system work in a complementary kind of way to increase activities at one moment in time and decrease activities at another.